clock on the wall tells us it's time for another episode of Learn, Teach, Lead, where we explore how educators, just like you, are using innovative instructional strategies, including how to leverage AI to improve teaching and learning.
Each week, we share real classroom stories, tools, and tips to help you save time, personalize instruction, and lead with confidence.
I'm Jeanine Nostrum, an elementary school principal.
And I'm Robyn D'Angelo, an elementary school teacher. Let's get started with today's Friday debrief.
Okay, Robyn, so why don't we get started with the fabulous moment of the week? What's on your mind this week?
Absolutely. You know, Jeanine, last week we said we were moving to the R this week for the refocus of the GROW method, but I wanted to know if it was okay to just pause and stay on the G a little bit longer, just because I feel like gathering has been so beneficial to our conversation, and it really is truly the foundation of everything we do to get started in the school year. So far, if we stay on the G, we've unpacked a few different ways that we gather information as educators, right? So we talk about assessment data, which is looking at the numbers. We talk about observations, which is what you see, anecdotal notes, which is the notes that we took as our guests, Miss Barbie and Miss Tremonti were saying last week, looking at the student and watching them. But today we're going to stretch it even further. We have a wonderful special guest today, and we're going to look at how data can also enrich students. And that's the fourth one I want to go through, the fourth gather I want to look at today, and that is the student voice. Because through their choices that a student makes and looking at their interests and how they pursue things and the reflections that they share, that's powerful data too. And that leads me to my G for my week and my fabulous moment, which is my gather of a student's voice that I heard over this summer. So my fabulous moment of the week aligns clearly with the student's voice, because every teacher's dream is that what they teach the prior year sticks with students after that school year ends, so they continue to grow. So gathering to me means collecting evidence of learning, but also listening closely to a student's voice and how they show their confidence, their choices, and their growth beyond my classroom. So my fabulous moment of the week this week is a very powerful story of a student's voice. Over the summer, one of my students chose to pick up his notebook to use the strategies that we practiced all year in class, even though no one asked him to do it. This wasn't a particular assignment that we assigned. It wasn't required. He chose to do it because, in his words, he felt confident and capable, and that was his voice talking. And I want to share with you a couple of examples really quickly, and I'll scroll through them. And as you can see, this student really took the time to write about his reading and use the acronyms we learned to check his reading as well. So this example of a student's confident voice allowed him to carry our strategies beyond the classroom. His clarity and independence showed that acronyms we built together, rooted in our data and practice, didn't just stay behind. They transferred into his summer work. More importantly, they gave him independence and ownership of learning. So to me, that's what gathering is all about. It's enriching the student's voice, noticing and collecting, and celebrating those moments of growth that prove our students are ready to keep blooming.
I have to say, Robyn, I love this. It is absolutely a fabulous moment of the week. And having had the opportunity to look through the notebook, it's page after page after page of this student writing down their thoughts using the structure, that very explicit structure of the iced tea and the BMME that we taught the student the prior year. So to me, first of all, it's amazing that a child is doing that much writing along with their reading over the summer, but it also gives us some indication that the student really has internalized that structure and found it helpful. So when they had to do some jotting, it wasn't just random. It was, like, what should I write today? it looks like he went in with a plan. And obviously, the more he practices that structure, the better able he's going to be able to access it independently when he needs to in class or working on independent assignments or during testing. So that is absolutely a fabulous moment of the week. So thanks for sharing that. So I think part of this, because we know some kids write over the summer because they enjoy it, but most kids write over the summer because their parents make them do it, right? So the parents are saying, listen, you have to read and you have to write. So, along those lines, knowing that at the elementary level, parents are so important, my fabulous moment of the week is just to highlight the fact that last year, you, along with your third grade colleagues, ran a workshop to teach parents about how they can work with their children to help improve their writing skills. And by showing the parents in detail the processes that we were using to help students do their planning and think about the writing they were doing within each genre, the parents were better able to assist their children at home. And so in particular, when we focused with parents on how they can talk to their children to deepen their thinking, it leads to this kind of organized, note-taking and just more thoughtful approach to what students are reading. And we all know that writing comes more easily for students when they have something to say. And if you look through this student's notebook, clearly that student had something to say after he was done reading each day. So I think that it's really important to bring students along. And this is the fruit of that workshop that you guys held with the parents last year. So I think that that's just absolutely, absolutely wonderful. And since parents are a child's first and most influential teacher, bringing them into the process is as important for advanced learners as it is for struggling students. And I know we're going to talk a little bit today with our special guest, Mrs. Sandy Amato, who is our media specialist and our enrichment teacher here at Ridge Ranch School. So welcome, Sandy. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Sure. So, Robyn, you want to lead us into our small shifts, big ripple segment of the podcast?
Absolutely. We'd like to begin our small shifts, big ripple segment of our podcast with the infamous Miss Sandy Amato. Miss Amato, our amazing enrichment teacher and librarian, helps students take their learning to the next level every day. That's what it means to gather in the grow, giving students the opportunities to explore, create, and own their learning. Enrichment isn't more work, and you can correct me on this, Miss Amato, but it's meaningful growth, meaningful opportunities to explore, create, and own their learning. And that's kind of like where the student's voice comes in. So, Miss Amato, how do you gather information? And maybe you could talk a little bit about your enrichment program. And how do you gather information during enrichment class to kind of guide you through helping students find their voice and grow as critical thinkers that will create a big ripple in their learning?
That's a great reflective question. In enrichment, I gather information in several ways so I can see how students are thinking, not just what they know, but how their brain is processing. So some strategies I use are part of like the observations during their activities, watching students approach open-ended problems, noticing if they're trying multiple solutions or if they're just stuck following one path. A majority of the time, there are more than one way that you can think how to lead up to the answer. So using critical thinking skills I would be surprised to see them coming up with just one way. Out of the 10 students, I probably have 10 answers or 10 different ways that they will come up with a solution. Questioning and discussions are a huge factor. Asking why and how questions to encourage them to explain their reasoning. Open-ended questions is very important instead of just looking for that yes/no answer. You're really delving into the brain when you're asking that open-ended question. Also, student self-reflections, having students set learning goals and reflect on how they work towards them. I would also say work samples and projects. The enrichment group works with project-based materials that tumble off of the curriculum map. I just enhance what they are learning in the classroom by creating projects for them. So collecting their creative products or writing responses to see evidence of flexible thinking and problem solving is another way. And collaboration checks, working with the kids, conferencing with them, talking with them, see how they're strategizing and planning their answers and how they're coming up with their final work for their project is a huge factor as well. Depending upon the unit, some of the projects are small group based, some of them are partnerships, and some of them are independent learning. So it's a way of collaborating with the students and seeing how they work on their own and how they work in a group as well. So together, these methods help me understand where the students are in their critical thinking journey, so I can design challenges that stretch their thinking, and as you said, create that big ripple effect.
That's great. Thank you, Sandy. And it's so interesting to me that, you know, as the teacher who works with our students who are in need of a challenge, right? Or, you know, students who need a little more perhaps than the curriculum is offering at their grade level, a little enrichment, that you started with the idea of watching kids, and that's exactly what we were talking about last week, the importance of really getting to know kids and as you said, how they approach problem solving. Are they only using one strategy to solve a problem? And having that expectation that students who need an extra challenge or a little more advanced, they may have a strategy, but can they come up with other strategies too to kind of stretch their thinking? So I'm just wondering, in terms of like your planning when you're working with students and trying to help them reach that next level for goal setting, how do you approach that goal setting with students? Like, what's your method for helping them kind of set a stretch goal?
Conferring with the students as well as the teachers in the classroom, seeing what their strengths are, seeing what their weaknesses are, seeing what we can enhance with their learning, and just getting their mind going in a different way, thinking outside of the box.
That's great. And I'm actually going to share a little later on some ways that maybe we could leverage AI to help provide some of these stretch goals and help kids step up to the next grade level standard, which I know you're doing as you design projects for the kids to work on. So that's great. Good stuff.
Thanks.
And I love that you put the piece, Mrs. Amato, of the reflection in there, because that's, you know, kind of what we were talking a little bit about when we, for the fabulous moment. So you observe them working, you observe their habits, you observe their thinking, their working habits, and then they reflect on what they were doing. And that's really where they internalize that voice that they have, right? That student voice of, you know, did I do a good job, or can I push myself a little bit further to accomplish my goal? And there's that critical thinking piece that's so important at this age, you know, of student development. So I love how you mentioned that reflection piece as well, that you put into your enrichment.
Exactly. If you reflect on something, it's only a way of making it better for the following time.
Yep, absolutely. So as you all know, I have a long commute home, and I have nothing to do on that commute except for think about the things that happen during the school day. And this week I was thinking a lot about how we can meet the needs of advanced learners. And as you know, we are very interested in how we can leverage AI to do that. So my principal's reflection today is on that topic. You know, as educators, we face the ongoing challenge of ensuring that every student receives meaningful instruction that helps them grow. And this is especially important when students are ready for more advanced work. And I really think that AI can be a valuable partner in this effort, particularly when it comes to providing enrichment for these advanced learners. And many people might assume that AI for enrichment simply means adjusting a reading level of a text or creating a differentiated assignment or worksheet. And yes, these are excellent things that AI tools out there can do quickly and easily. There are programs such as Dip It that does this quite well. And this is a valid use case for AI. But I think a more powerful application for using AI to design instruction that's rooted in grade level standards and tailored to students' interest and voice, as we've been discussing, and aiming at higher order thinking. So this approach can elevate enrichment into something a little more meaningful for students. So my favorite use case for AI is for teachers to use AI as a strategic planning partner to ensure thorough mastery of instructional standards. And a teacher can do this quite simply just by entering into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever large language model you're using, the current grade level instructional standards, along with the next grade level instructional standards that they're moving toward, and maybe include some details about the student's interests and learning style. This kind of prompting, or this kind of detail in your prompting, will generate a plan that goes beyond routine differentiation and will create a personalized learning path to make a bridge between what the student currently knows and more advanced learning. So for example, consider you have a third grader in your math class who's already mastered interpreting products of whole numbers, one of the standards for third grade. The teacher can look at the next grade level standard, interpreting multiplication equations as comparisons, which is the next grade level standard, and add in some personalized details about the student's learning style or preferences, such as the student enjoys puzzles or logic games, or the student likes art or music. Once you have this detailed information, AI can draft a sequence of challenging activities to bridge the gap for the more advanced standard. AI can provide complete explanations for the teacher, engaging activities for the student, and even a rubric to monitor progress. These are the types of activities that would take a teacher a very long time to create on their own. The advantage of AI lies in its ability to quickly map connections between standards and propose activities that are rigorous and engaging. That frees teachers up to focus on what only they can provide. Gathering and prepping materials. Sure, that's a low-level task, but a time-consuming task. It can buy back some time for teachers to refine activities. It can help teachers ask more probing questions or give encouragement or help a student develop habits of mind. And most importantly, build human connection and communication skills with students through face-to-face interactions. So this is why the concept of keeping a human in the loop is so important. AI can draft, suggest, and accelerate planning, but it's the teacher's professional judgment and relationship with the student that transforms those drafts into authentic learning experiences. These are the things AI cannot do and only a teacher can do. So it's my opinion that teachers would be wise to leverage AI to ensure rigor and accomplish all those wonderful things that Sandy was describing in terms of collecting student voice, personalizing instruction, involving students in goal setting, and making the most of the limited time that we have with kids. So in the end, AI can provide a strong first draft of an enrichment plan, but it's the teacher's expertise and human touch that makes it truly effective. This partnership supports both student growth and reinforces our belief that teachers remain at the heart of meaningful learning. Okay, so Robyn, are you ready for our power move of the week?
I am.
All right, so this week's challenge is to pick one student who's ready for enrichment and then use AI as your planning partner. Give it 2 pieces of information: the standard your student has already mastered and the next grade level standard that they're ready for. Add in a short profile of that student, include their interests, learning styles, or what excites them, and then ask AI to design a set of challenging activities.
Your job: review the draft, tweak it for rigor and fit, and then bring it to life with your feedback and connection. In the end, AI saves you time and sparks ideas, but it's your expertise that makes the learning real.
What's your tip for us, Robyn? What's your power move of the week?
My power move of the week is keeping in line with student voice. Continue that growth mindset at home. Encourage parents to have their child explain their writing plan out loud. Putting pencil to paper, That simple conversation helps kids clarify their ideas, make writing easier and more meaningful. When parents join the process, they also become powerful partners in growing students' thinking and communication skills, which are essential for children in need of support or enrichment.
Absolutely. So our tip of the week is to use your favorite LLM. Try the prompt that you will find linked in the show notes below and see where it takes you. And Sandy, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us this week.
Yay!
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, Sandy. Mrs. Amato, I call you, but Sandy, yay!
You two are awesome.
Well, folks, that old clock on the wall tells us it's time to wrap up another episode of Learn, Teach, Lead, our Friday debrief. We've shared a few lessons, unpacked a few stories, and maybe sparked a few new ideas for your classroom or your leadership journey.
As always, we hope you'll take what you've learned, teach it forward, and lead with purpose. Thanks for spending part of your week with us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.